live, but I
We
doubt
live, baby. We live.
I doubt anybody's in there yet. I need to go to Discord real quick and
Unless you got some starters.
let's see here. All right, let me get this pulled up and we'll start.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
What's that?
I can't mute it on my phone.
That
It's okay.
sucks.
It's very faint anyway. It's only going to be mildly annoying.
Okay. We'll wait till we get some viewers. Looks like we've got 7 right now, so let's see. All right, we'll get started. This is Vols TL90 with OMG. This is going to be episode 2 of MaddenCast. Thank you all for joining us and tuning in. Since he put out a article this morning going over some things we'll be talking about this week, we're going to start off with the Denver Broncos. They're the last lone undefeated team in the league. What are some of your thoughts, OMG, about the Denver Broncos being undefeated?
Um, on one hand, looking at the stats, if you look at the league leaders, the only league leader that's a Bronco in terms of offense is Cortland Sutherland, the receiver. So I think that's pretty impressive. Usually, if a team's undefeated, you're going to see some guys on offense that are going to stick out, but clearly he's doing it with the defense. But honestly, I can't say I'm surprised. I mean, that team, I have that team in another league, and that team's defense is stacked. And Christian is not a bad owner by any means. So I think it was just like the right fit. Some other guys I feel like could have been undefeated are guys like Joe, guys like Brad. But Christian seems to just have figured out Madden earlier than everyone else this year.
Yeah, no, I'm not sure. Was he in the league last year?
I think towards the end he joined.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure. I didn't remember the name, so I wasn't 100% sure if he was in league last year. But yeah, he's definitely took the league by storm and caught a lot of us by surprise, being 5-0. Especially, I think him and Brad played, but I think that was a forced win for him. So
Mhm.
I'm kind of interested to see that matchup uh, if they get to play the next time, because that could be a showdown for sure. Um, so
I
move.
actually,
Go
I
ahead.
have, I actually, can you pull up the schedule? I want to see what teams he's played because I didn't think to check that. And not to take any credit away because 5-0 is 5-0, but if he's beaten some not so great teams, then maybe he's not as good as we think he is.
All right, let me look at the schedule real quick. I think last week him and Jets played, maybe, or him and he played somebody good last week. I was thinking and dominated him. Yeah, he beat the Jets, defending Super Bowl champ, terrorized 27-3 last week.
Wow.
Let's see, look up some of his other opponents. He beat Chiefs 24-6, but that was a forced win, so that doesn't really count. Week 3, He beat the Ravens 23-7. So the Ravens they're kind of mediocre right now. And then beat the Raiders 33-14 in week 2. It's again another team lower on the power ranking poll. And then week 1 he started out looks like a forced win, I guess, over the Seahawks, or maybe just a straight up sim. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, because there's no score there. It's kind of weird.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I think you probably could have doubted him before weeks 4 and 5, but beating the Chiefs and the Jets definitely
Yeah, I
gives
mean
him some clout.
the Jets win over the Jets last week. I think that was kind of his statement game because I think Jets were 6 in power rankings that week, and I think he just got the number 1, so it was like his first game as a number 1 power ranking team. So it was a lot of pressure, and he dominated the Jets. I think the Jets threw 4 interceptions that game.
Damn.
So so moving out of well, not moving out, but moving away from the Broncos, we'll stay on topic with the AFC West. And what do you think about the AFC West as I pull up the standings so far?
Here,
You got the Broncos 5-0. Brad 4-1. His one loss is a forced loss to the Broncos. Chargers sitting at 2-2-1, and then the Raiders are 1-3-1. They both tied with each other this past week.
I mean, when you got a team like the Broncos and the Chiefs leading your division, uh, clearly that's probably one of the best divisions in the league, I would say right now. The Chargers have a really good squad, I think. But I mean, even 2-2 this early in the season is not that bad. I mean, with losing Mac, I guess the Raiders going 1-3 isn't a big surprise, but they have so many draft picks. They're definitely going to be good next year. So that's a really scary division, especially the AFC. Looking at the AFC, no one else really sticks out. Um, the Texans are probably the only team, especially because they won the tournament. But I don't know. It may be a showdown between the AFC West when it comes down to the playoff push.
Yeah, I mean it. I got a feeling one of these, the Broncos or the Chiefs, are going to be sitting there in the AFC Championship game, or it could be both of them sitting there. So I think, did you say Texans won? Is he the one who won the
The
tournament?
preseason tournament, yep.
Okay. I was thinking it was the Eagles for some reason.
Or well, he got to the championship, yeah,
So Eagles won championship.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
But it's still impressive getting to it. I've
Oh,
lost first round both years, so can't really talk about it. But yeah, as far as AFC West, that's definitely a division I wouldn't want to be. I mean, I'm stuck in a tough division myself, but I wouldn't want to be in there with playing bread twice a year, and then the Broncos looking like the real deal. I wouldn't want to play them either because that could easily be 4 losses right there, just between those two
yeah.
teams. And
And
then I
it's
mean,
funny because originally I was supposed to be the Broncos. That was the team I was given. But luckily Christian switched with me because I didn't want to be Broncos in 2 leagues. So
gotcha.
it's funny to see how he switched teams and he's having so much success. Honestly, I don't see myself being anywhere near 5-0 with the Broncos. So that's not. I mean, I'm not obviously not the greatest, but like I think I'm all right. But that you know, I would not have done that if I had the Broncos. So that's who knows. He probably would have been 5-0 with the Buccaneers too, for all I know.
Yep, you never know. I mean, it's definitely an accomplishment to be the last undefeated team in any Madden league, in my opinion. And I think this is probably one of the first times that I can remember after 5 weeks only one team being undefeated.
Mm,
Normally there's multiple, and I think he's playing right now. I don't know if he's winning, but if he was to lose, after 6 weeks, not having an undefeated team, that shows you how deep this league is and how competitive it is.
seriously.
So, but yeah, so Chargers, Ray's not a, he's definitely not a pushover either. And the Raiders, I've seen him play a couple games, and he's just got to figure a couple things out on the defensive side of the ball. And I think with those draft picks, he could definitely improve his team on the defensive side of the ball, and that'll help him out. Because I mean, you can see he's already gave up 103 points through 5 games, so he's definitely struggling stopping people. But he's not doing bad on offense. It's just his defense is not helping him out either.
Yeah, that hurts. That's I know that struggle. I've been going through that past couple weeks.
So let's see. Moving on from the AFC West, we'll go into some of the statistical leaders through Week 5. We'll start with the passing leaders. So let's see. You got Carson Wentz leading the league in passing in yards. This is how the it's broke down by passing yards. He's almost at 1,500. Then you got Mahomes, Rodgers, Baker Mayfield, and Andrew Luck in the top five. So what do you think about these passing leaders? What sticks out to you?
Oh, my numbers. I was looking at a list that clearly is not updated. Let me switch over to your stream so I
Okay,
can see
you're
that
you're
list.
good.
So Wentz, Mahomes, Rodgers, Mayfield. I'm not surprised at any of those. That's probably about where I expected it to be. I'm surprised there's not a Brady up there. Luck is probably the one that sticks out the most to me because the Colts roster is terrible. They don't really have a lot of great receivers. But he's fifth in the league in passing, and you would think with a team that's that roughly built, um, you would think if a quarterback's going to be top five in passing, he's probably going to have a lot of picks, but he doesn't. He only has 4 picks. So I think that's pretty impressive for as bad as that team is with
Yeah,
luck.
I don't know. I think Frank maybe played one. Did he play two games? He might have played two games.
Oh, that's
Um,
right.
so some of the, I think 3 games. I think he's forced, and maybe a fourth one coming up.
Well, the
Um,
Madden guys have been nice.
yeah, yeah. I mean, definitely simulating. I would expect to see his completion percentage maybe a little bit lower, just because I would imagine he would probably be getting pressured pretty good. So Madden God's definitely been nice to him. The one that stands out to me though is Mahomes for Brad, because Brad's always been known as, to me, a runner, a run first person, and he's
Right.
definitely, as you can see, he's definitely got the passing yards up. I don't know about the rushing. We'll get to that here in a little bit, but he's definitely had to change up. It looks like he's had to change up his game plan this season and pass the ball a little bit more. And he's doing it okay. 9 touchdowns to 5 interceptions. The completion percentage is definitely low. You'd like to see that up at least in the 60s, but he's averaging 263 yards a game, so he's doing pretty good with Mahomes, and that's kind of a surprise to me.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm always used to Brad having a top rusher. I mean, he's not doing too bad rushing the ball either, but for him to be top five in passing, I think we saw a little bit of that last year with him having the Chiefs and Tyreek Hill, because that's a weapon that
Oh yeah, you got to
I think
use.
he's never had. And exactly, you have to take advantage of a guy like that.
Yeah, you have to get him the ball. All right, so we'll move on to rushing leaders, and we'll see if Brad's got a guy up here. And right off the jump, Kareem Hunt sitting at number 3. You got Lamar Miller leading the league by 1 yard over Todd Gurley. Then Kareem Hunt, Devontae Freeman, and Kamara rounding out the top 5. So what sticks out to you here?
Well, I mean, I'm surprised that they. I don't know. Even though Ronald Jones has as many rushing yards as he does, I think that's mainly because of one game. I don't know. I'm surprised that teams are having as much success running the ball. But at least they're not random fucking 95 overall or 95 speed running backs. You know,
Exactly.
they're legit running backs that I would expect to lead the league in rushing.
Yeah, I mean those top 6 are legit. I mean those are 6 of the top 10 backs in the league. Maybe Lamar Miller's a reach on that, but I mean all those 6 are definitely who you would expect to see up there. The one thing that sticks out to me though is Devontae Freeman. He's only got 49 carries. He's averaging 7 yards a carry. So that the Falcons guy, he's not been too successful so far in terms of wins and losses. I think he's sitting around 500. Might be 3-2 now. But he's definitely figured out how to run the ball. 7 yards a carry, 4 touchdowns. That's something that you're used to seeing in a Madden league. Is a high
Mm-hmm.
average yards per carry. and low attempts. You're not used to seeing these real numbers that you would see on Sunday at 4 yards a carry. So that sticks
Right.
out to me as he's figured out how to run the ball. So I'm gonna have to tune into some Atlanta games and see what it is he's doing with Freeman.
I, I'm actually up against him. We're gonna play Friday, so I'm gonna have to.
You're gonna have to keep an eye on Freeman.
Yeah.
So let's move on to the receiving leaders. I'll give you a minute for it to pop up. But you got your top five. Again, Chiefs have another person in the top three. You got Sterling Shepard one, Tyreek Hill two. Uh, don't really know who that is. Third, T. Williams. That could be a number of T. Williams. You got Brandon Cooks and you got Michael Thomas set in the top five. That T. Williams could be maybe Tyrell Williams for the Chargers,
Probably.
if I had to guess.
That's what I would guess too.
We'll say that's who it is. And go from there. So, what sticks out to you from this list? Looking at it.
Going back to what you were saying about bread, Tyreek Hill. Like, what in the world? He's not a bad receiver, but it's bread. And honestly, Sterling Shepard, who I'm going to bring up again later in this cast, but definitely Sterling Shepard, not only to be leading the league in yards, but is he leading the league in receptions as well?
Yeah, Shepard. Yeah, 33 catches. You got to remember Odell's hurt, so I think that's been a huge. It's been a huge loss for the Giants in losing Odell, but it's also been a huge gain
Right.
for
That's
Sterling.
crazy. And imagine once he comes back.
You're going to have two people to worry about. I mean, Shepard's definitely stepped up his game with Odell being out. Because this is something, them numbers you would expect from him with Odell, getting all the double teams. You'd expect a Sterling Shepard to come in the slot, get all those catches, get all the yards. But with Odell being out and he's being the number one, it's impressive.
Right. And I mean, this isn't fantasy football, but you would like to see a few more touchdowns. But considering the next best receiver on that list has three, I mean, that's not far away. So I'm not really too worried about the touchdown output if you're getting
No,
that many
yeah,
receptions and moving the ball like that.
yeah, yeah. I'm more. You're there as a wide receiver. You're there to catch the ball and move the ball. Touchdowns will come as the year comes. It moves forward. I'm not worried about those touchdowns at all. As you can see, he's also leading the league in receiving after catch 152. So he's not only catching the ball, but he's catching it and moving after he catches it. So I'm definitely impressed with Sterling Shepard there. So we'll move on to some defensive stats. We got some interception leaders coming up. We move into the boring part of the statistics now. But defense wins championships. So here you got Marcus May for the Jets leading the league in interceptions at 5. He's actually tied with your guess is as good as mine with the middle linebacker S. Thompson. I don't really know my defensive players like I should.
Shaq Thompson from the Panthers, right?
It probably makes sense. So they're both sitting there at 5. Thompson has 0 interception yards, which I find that hard.
What?
I mean, I don't know how you get 5 interceptions and you don't have
That's
any yards.
great coverage, I guess.
Yeah, I mean he's diving and making an attempt and getting tagged quickly. That's all I can imagine. And then you got a handful of other ones sitting there at 4. So that's it's a lot of interceptions. I feel like through 5 weeks. I mean they're on pace for double-digit interceptions.
Oh yeah.
And I think that's
And
impressive anytime you can get double digits for one player.
yeah, I think guys are still trying to figure out how to pass the ball in Madden. Well, most of the league anyway.
Yeah, because I mean it's hard to run the ball, so I think a lot of people are just trying to figure out their passing game and hoping that will open up the run game.
Yep.
So we'll move on to the sack leader. We got no surprise here, J.J. Watt first with 9 through 5 games. I mean he's almost averaging 2 a game. It's just ridiculous. You got Graham, Vernon, McKinley, and Ingram rounding out your top 5 with 8, 7.5, 7, and 6.5. So What kind of?
That middle linebacker Ryan from the Packers.
Yeah,
He, I know he's a little bit down there in sacks, but considering he's only 3 away from Watt, and he's also got what? Oh, I thought he had more interceptions. Never mind. I must have been thinking about somebody else. Anyway, he's having a pretty good year though. Um, I don't know. I don't know how the fuck they're getting so much pressure because even when I had Gerald McCoy, I feel like he never got pressure like that.
I think it's a lot to do with J.J. Watt, for example. The Texans, I think they're 4-1, so more than likely they're going to be, up multiple touchdowns, and people are throwing the ball, trying to come back, make a comeback with the passing game, and maybe they're just switching to J.J. Watt and getting user sacks. I'm not sure, but those amount of sacks through 5 games, 9 and 8 for me
Insane,
are
insane,
ridiculous. I don't even think I have 9 sacks as a team,
right?
so it's definitely impressive for me.
Yeah.
And then you look at J.J. Watt's solo tackles. He has 9 solo tackles, so that would be his 9 sacks. So he's not doing anything but sacking the quarterback.
That's great. I love that.
So to me, that says user skills, going after the quarterback on third and long.
I don't
That's
know
what I
how they
would
do
do.
it, but I would love to learn.
Yeah, it's something I've never been able to do is user a defensive lineman. I've never been able to do it. Like I'm awful at it. All right, so we'll be done with statistical leaders there. We'll move on to studs and duds. This is kind of a new segment we're going to start. We're not going to do it every week. We're just going to do it maybe every quarter of the league, every 4 weeks is kind of the goal. So we were a week late, but through 5 weeks, who do you have as your stud?
So we mentioned him earlier. Sterling Shepard from the Giants. He's leading the league in receptions and catches. Um, in a league where I don't know, half quarterbacks probably have more interceptions than touchdowns. Um, he's having a fucking great year, especially with Odell Beckham out. So he's my stud. My dud is actually going to go to the entire AFC North. That is such a trash division. I don't, and there's some really good teams in that division, and some even good owners that I respect. But your division leader is 2-3, competing with another 2-3 team, and then the Bengals are 1-4, and the Steelers are 0-5. Especially with the Steelers making that big trade with me, you would think that division doesn't even have anyone over 500. So that's definitely a dud. The entire NFC North or AFC North, I'm calling you guys out. You're my dud for Week 5. You guys need to get it together.
It's a pretty good dud. I like your stud as well. To update you on your dud, the Steelers and Bengals played this week. I think they played a couple hours ago, and the Steelers did get their first win against the Bengals. So
Ooh.
now they both have one win. So that division just got even more crowded with the Steelers finally getting on the board in Week 6. And going back to the Steelers, that's somebody. For me, playing with Denim, I've played Madden against him for 15 years,
Damn.
and we've been best friends since high school. But we
I didn't
actually
know
know,
that.
yeah, we actually know each other in real life. But so I've we grew up together playing Madden all the time. But he actually, I thought he was going to do at least 9-7, 10-6 maybe. So him being 0-5, he's definitely had a rough start, but I think he's gonna get things turned around, and I think he'll get it in the right track. He's just gonna have to figure out what he's gonna do offensively. He's struggling offense, just like the majority of us are. So moving on from that, my stud is actually gonna be Carson Wentz. We just talked about him a little bit briefly. He's leading the league in passing. I think anytime you can do that in a Madden league, lead a league in passing, you're doing something right. But one thing I look for most of the time in Madden leagues, when you see quarterbacks who lead the league in passing, they have 15 touchdowns and 35 interceptions. And for
Right.
me, he's sitting there at 13-10. 10's pretty high. but I'm looking at the completion percentage as well, and it's 67%. I mean, I think anything over 65 is pretty good. Closer you are to 70, you're insane.
Yeah,
You've
that's
got the
really
passing
high
game
compared
figured
to the
out.
next guy.
Yeah. So you've got the passing game figured out for sure with that percentage. Um, and I tied the Eagles in week 3, I believe, week 4 maybe. I can't remember. I think it was week 4. Actually, we tied, and man, his passing game was sick. It was just something that I could just not stop. I think he threw for like 350 yards. He only put up
Wow.
17 points through overtime, but man, I mean he completed the ball when he wanted to. I think he went like 20 of 25 or something. So his percentage rating was through the roof. And then my dud is going to be the whole organization of the Arizona Cardinals. They just they got it all wrong. I mean they hired a fat Pat who has been kicked out of the league for cheese. 3,000 yards rushing with Archer. So they got him. Showed up for one game and played it, and then he had to deal with a hurricane, which is understandable. Um, but he's been fine since the hurricane. They've seen him online, but he's not replied to any DMs. He's not replied to anybody. Um, so he just walked away, quit, and now they are getting JTG, I think, from the waiting list. So we'll see what he can do with the Cardinals. But I mean, right now they've users played one game with him, and then the other 4 have just been forced. So the Arizona Cardinals as an organization, they got to figure it out, and hopefully they can get this turned around.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that. That's funny. It's really unfortunate for a team to lose so much steam so early in the cycle because,
I
I
mean,
mean,
you
whether
got
someone stays with them or not.
yeah, you got to think whether people are staying with their team playing or getting force wins or sims. That's doing if you're losing games, five losses in a row, you're taking over a team that a lot of players probably don't even want to show up and play.
Yeah,
Their confidence is low. They're not going to want to catch the ball. They're going to get hurt because they don't want to be out there. It just does nothing. There's nothing good for the organization when you hire a coach and he shows up for one game.
yeah,
So hopefully they can rebound with JTG and make some noise in year 2, because I think year 1's just might as well just wash it up and move on, build for
oh
the
yeah,
future. Because the Cardinals have a lot of young, good pieces. They can definitely get this thing turned around. They just gotta have the right person to help them do it.
yeah. It could be a blessing in disguise if they lose out and get a really high draft pick.
Yep. All right. So that'll be it with studs and duds. We will talk about a controversy that happened a couple days ago involving myself. I was at the forefront of it. It was between me and Amazing after our game. Actually, it happened during our game. I was called out for pre-snap movement, which is a rule some of you all probably are familiar with, and most of you probably have broken it. He called me out in the middle of the game for moving my free safety a yard or two, either to the left, right, or up to the line of scrimmage. Not completely up to the line of scrimmage, but a couple yards. Called me out on it. I told him it was just a slight movement. He took it from there. I'm not really here to argue with him, say I'm right, he's wrong, none of that crap. They just we want to touch on it, make sure everybody knows the rule, and everybody follows it from here on out. Because I knew I was in the wrong. I admitted to being in the wrong, and when he called me out on it, I stopped. I didn't do it the rest of the game, and that's kind of how I've unfortunately I don't want to admit this, but that's kind of how I've always been since I've been in the league. I follow all the rules to a T except that one. That was one that I've seen people do to seen people break it against me. So I would break it until somebody said something to me. And that game, he said something to me, and it started a big controversy. So I'll let you kind of touch on it. But that's it's kind of where how we got here.
For my piece on this issue, I'm going to keep it short and sweet. Essentially, got 2 to 3 main points I want to touch on. First, I just think it's funny, and I've been very guilty of this. Everyone who has been in multiple leagues with me, past Maddens, knows this because I used to be and kind of still am one of the biggest babies. I am super competitive and I just get really frustrated. But the thing is, I feel like way too many people will only bring up when people break rules when they lose. If they win the game, they probably ignore it. They probably don't even bother messaging admin about it. They probably don't even DM the other person about it because they don't care. They won the game. I've been guilty of that where people do things and I'm like, oh, that's questionable. I should probably bring it up, and I don't. And I lose, and then I say something, and then it seems like I'm complaining. Not to say that Joe was complaining or anyone else. That's not what I'm trying to say. But just in general, just as I guess like a PSA, don't wait till you're losing to bring an issue up. If you see someone do something, just bring it up to them in DM. Let them know, hey, this is against the rules. If 99% of the time the guy's gonna respect it and be like, all right, my bad, I forgot. And if the guy's being a douche, then tell him to admin and take care of the issue. But mistakes happen. Lord knows we've all broken rules here and there, forgetting fourth down rules and stuff like that. I think it's funny, but at the end of the day, I like the rule. I don't think we should be allowed to move players pre-snap. Um, I get that it's kind of unrealistic, and it would make defenses be able to compete more by adjusting guys appropriately. Because we know Madden's dumb, Madden's a game. But at the end of the day, there can't be any wiggle room with that rule because people will find a way to take advantage of it. That's the whole point of having rules, is not allowing people to really get away with stuff. Um, that's pretty much all I have to say about that.
Yeah, I mean, if you have a rule, it's got to be in my experience, it's got to be black or white. There, you cannot have a gray area with any sort of rule, because if you have that gray area, people are gonna take that inch and turn it into a mile, and that's kind of what I did, unfortunately. But at least I admit to it, and I was in the wrong,
Right.
and we'll move on from it. But just make, like you said, make sure we're following the rules. It's black and white. You cannot move a player pre-snap. If you see your opponent doing it, pause the game, shoot them a DM. If they continue to do it, then that's when you kind of get in touch with the admin. Try to stay out of the chat lounge with it. Try to
Yep.
handle these things privately, because that's when you don't handle them privately and you call people out in public, the other person is going to feel attacked, and then it's
Yep.
just going to be a trickle down effect from there. And
And it
it's
feels like
just,
high school all over
yeah,
again.
exactly. It's just going to lead to stuff that none of us want to deal with. So just DM them privately. They keep doing it. Reach out to OMG if you're in the NFC. He's your kind of man out of the NFC, and then AFC. Reach out to Ray, and they can handle it from there. Just try to stay out of party chat with it as best you can. All right. Some of you that have been active in chat, you've probably seen a random person on the wait list. It goes by the name of Amp King. Uh, we're going to touch base on the return of the King. Um, Amp King, for you guys that weren't around. For me, I don't really remember him much. I know he was an admin. I know he was trigger happy with booting people. Um, that's what he was famous for. That's about all I remember. I know he had. I think he played with the Eagles. He had Deshaun Jackson, Vincent Jackson. It was a nightmare playing against him. Very good competitor. Knew his Madden. For me, that's about all I know and all I can remember from him. He helped Cincy and Hotep set up LOL back in 2012, and so he kind of had his fingerprint on this league from the beginning. So it's nice to see him get back in, along with some of the other people that's came back with us. Like Sundance, Denim. Um, those are just a couple that come to mind. But there's a handful of us that were there from the beginning, and I just think that's very important, especially in the future when we have turnover and we have to go out and recruit people to be able to go out and tell people, hey, we have 15 core guys from 6 years ago. Come join us, be a part of something special. I think that's a good recruiting pitch.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I'll kind of let you speak on it.
Before I do that, can you say Cool Whip?
Cool Whip.
I'm just teasing.
Okay.
Um, no, I think it's funny because you say When and Cool Whip.
I do.
It's yeah.
Hmm.
It's not. I'm not used to it in Chicago.
I'm
Um,
from the South, so I probably say a lot of stuff
I dig it. I dig it.
redneckish.
Uh,
I'm from Tennessee, so I got that Southern wang.
why? Oh, never mind. I was gonna ask why weren't you the Titans, but you are the Titans, so
I am
never
the
mind.
Titans. Yeah.
Yeah, Am King. I mean, I think what you said was perfect about him being one of the OGs and him coming back and sticking with it. It's been a while, but I honestly don't remember much of him, if anything. I might have joined because I remember I joined maybe the Madden before LOL kind of disbanded. So I came like towards the end of it. I don't know if Am King might have like dipped like before or after I joined. I don't know. I don't remember him very much. But either way, as long as he's one of the originals and he's been around for a while, he knows most of the guys. It's not a bad thing to have.
Yeah. I mean, he should know most of the originals. I don't know. He wasn't in anything after LOL. So he left sometime, probably, I guess Madden 13, kind of when I think that's when LOL went in. What did LOL go into? ISL? Is that what it
Yeah,
was?
yeah, that sounds about right.
Okay, I get all of the abbreviations mixed up.
There's so many of them.
Yeah, I was in ISL maybe a season or two, and then I kind of got out of it. Then I went to Xbox when the one came out.
Yeah,
So, and then I made my way back. But anyways, so yeah, I mean, I'm glad he's back. We'll see if he can get a team and kind of make some noise and see if he can get back in the swing of things for sure.
yeah, he's got his work cut out for him.
Oh yeah. All right, so that's gonna do it for episode 2 of MaddenCast. Before we go, we're gonna throw in a little question we're gonna throw out here. Last week, I mentioned go follow us on Twitter. You're gonna get a prize if you followed us on Twitter. I think 6 of you out of I don't know 25, 26 people that were eligible because the admins weren't eligible. 6 of you followed us on Twitter, and I believe they got a development upgrade for a player of choice. So it's pretty big, a pretty big prize. If you ask me, a development upgrade, not an attribute upgrade, but a development upgrade. Um, so this week we're gonna end it with a little question, and the first person to DM me the correct answer is gonna take home a surprise. No googling either. You gotta be honest about it. And the question is, in what year did the Houston Oilers become the Tennessee Titans? First person to DM me the answer get you a
Ooh,
surprise.
that's a good question.
Yeah, you're not eligible. Um, anyways, so we'll close with that. For everybody that's on here, I think we got 14, 13 people viewing. We topped out at 20, pretty good numbers. Stay tuned. In about 20 minutes, we got the game of the week coming up. Denim's gonna hop on here with me. It's gonna be better than the last broadcast we had with Denim because you're actually gonna be able to hear him. You think I'm country? Stay tuned. He's from Kentucky. He's even more country than I am. Um, and we'll get it going. It's Eagles versus Giants, and it should be a showdown. So come on back and join us for that.
Sounds
See
fun.
you next
Thanks
week.
for listening in, guys.